Mm. Here we are again, coming to you live from my living room in South Minneapolis, to your living room. Today is Sunday, first Sunday in May. Traditionally in Minneapolis, we have the most wonderful, wonderful gathering of souls in Powderhorn Park for the May Day celebration. A parade, all homemade, and a pageant celebrating life, acknowledging challenges with their magnificent puppets from the Heart of the Beast Theater. It's always resolved with love and light and compassion and understanding, which is what we need to invoke within ourselves these days: love and light and compassion and understanding. Throw in a little empathy. In this, I call this times the great equalizer. And even with all of the inequalities and inequities, we're all the same, because we're all being confronted with the same madness and the same virus. And even though everybody's reacting to it in their own way, we're all suffering. So having a contemplative practice, having a movement practice is very important in order to balance ourselves, to balance our nervous system and support our body physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so on this Sunday, absolutely gorgeous afternoon, I'm hoping that a lot of us are outside enjoying in some way, and that you can access this video on your own time. So I'm going to be using the wall as my prop of the day, and And so we'll be doing work, we'll be together for about an hour. And if you can carve out the time, commit the time and space to practice with me, that's great. Otherwise, you can even just watch this video and you might learn some new ideas and some new techniques for your own yoga practice. So I'm going to be using the length of the wall for some of the standing poses, and you can do them in the middle of the room if you want, if you don't have a wall. And I'm going to be using a space about as wide as a sticky mat to go upside down against the wall. So at least if you have about this much space, then on a wall where you're not going to kick over any art, then I encourage you to explore some of these movements. So I'm going to just start by taking this block. So we're going to sit for a minute. I'm going to take this block. If you have a block, you can do the same. And what I'm going to do is take the block up and over and then slide it down my back and have it be right at the space below at T1. The first thoracic below the cervical. And then I'm going to use this block for some feedback and for some support to help to open up that space that often gets rounded and collapsed. Especially if you spend a lot of time on the computer looking down, or if you have any cervical compression. So you can lean back against the block and then slightly come away from it, so you're just using it as feedback. Roll your shoulders back, you can feel your shoulder blades, and balance the head. So it's right over the center of the bowl of the pelvis, center of the brain, right over the center of the throat, right over the center of the bowl of the pelvis. It's like a block of truth, because it's going to be able to bring you to true balance, front and back, right side, left side, grounding down into the earth as well as lifting up to the heavens. I'm just going to take a few breaths here, turning inward, having established and stabilized my sitting posture. See if I can stabilize my breath by just coming home to my breath. Exhaling out with a sound for a couple of times to help to drop into the body. Tracing the breath as it moves freely and effortlessly through my body. With the feedback of the block, I can feel the breath coming all the way up into my back body, up into the shoulders, into my armpit chest. Take the waist back and the navel back. So the ribs, floating ribs, are more moving towards the skin than away. With my eyes closed, just noting if they're darting, continuing to move from side to side and back and forth, and inviting the inner gaze to release to the back of the brain, the base of the skull, and then drop down into the heart. Having made that invitation, I'm going to then actually notice if my eyes and my inner gaze has responded, dropping the inner gaze to the back of the brain, the base of the skull, into the heart chest. Hatha Yoga Uttanasana. Here and now begin the teachings of yoga. Yoga, awareness, consciousness. Everything can be considered yoga. The yoga of relationships, the yoga of dealing with stress, the yoga of communication as examples. It's all about awareness and paying attention. And in this yoga practice, we get to pay attention to our body. So I have this block here showing you as you take it away. So I place the block up at the wall and slide down the back right below C7, the beginning of the top spine of the shoulder blade, using it as feedback to help to keep you stable and balance the body in the sitting posture. And then when you take it out, so you'd like to sit there for a couple minutes and then take it out, and then coming back to the place, imagining the feedback that you received from that block, as if it was still there, what your muscles and your nervous system have learned from the feedback of the block. So now we're going to come to standing. And so I'm going to move you back a little bit. Do the best you can. So what we're going to do now is take the arm. Let's see, I might need to move over here. See how this works. I've got my little stand. Ta-da! There we go. So I'm going to use the wall. I'm going to start with my right arm. I'll start with my left so you can see. In place, have your body be parallel to the wall. And we're going to take your hand. It's going to be some shoulder movements. And take the hand. I'm going to move over here. Use my drum. I'm not out drumming these days, so I got to use it for something. So you're going to take your arm and place it at the wall. So this is going to be helpful for the shoulders. And you're pressing into the wall. And then turning the body, pressing with your whole hand. And then your upper arm rotates from the inside out, and your lower arm rotates inward. So you want to have the eye of the arm facing forward. And pressing in, turn the body, breathe. See if you can press with the whole hand, with the pinky side of the pinky side, thumb, index, middle finger. Standing in Tadasana. Pressing, just pressing. And then take the hand and then turn the palm out. See if you can still have the eye of the arm facing forward. So the upper arm rotates externally and the forearm rotating internally. And then pressing into the whole hand. Pinky side of the hand, thumb, ring finger, index finger, the ball mounds of the hands. So not so much the tips of the fingers. And then rotate the body, not the hips, but rotate the trunk from, I'm on my left arm, so I'm rotating from left to right. If you're on your right arm, rotate from right to left. Breathing into the sensation. Notice where you feel this action. Breathing through. Letting go if you need to, pressing more if you can. Upper arm rolls back, shoulder blades pressing into the back. And then take the arm, you can relax it a little bit and turn the palm down. Woo! And now the eye of the arm is facing up, so I'm still rotating the top upper arm from the inside out and the forearm, which there's not going to be a whole lot of movement because you're pressing into the hands, but energetically roll the arm from the forearm forward, upper arm back, and pressing and breathing. Don't forget to breathe. You can move the arm a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but not higher than the shoulder itself. And then turn the trunk. Breathe. Whoa. Turn the corners of your mouth up a little bit. And then turning the palm so the fingers are facing forward. So you're going up, fingers out, fingers down, fingers forward. Same action. Upper arm rolls externally, forearm rolls internally. The eye of the arm now, eye of the elbow is now facing down. Pressing and turning. Notice where you feel the stretch. Legs are in Tadasana, so try not to turn the hips. You're turning, the legs are staying stable, pelvis level, turning the trunk and breathing. Careful not to overturn the head because you don't need to overstretch the neck. This is about the shoulders. Pressing in. Shoulders back. Shoulder blades moving forward. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades moving towards each other. Top spine of the shoulders spreading. Clavicle long. So open up the shoulders and release. And then we'll do the second side. So now I'm going to have my back facing you. It's not that I don't love you, but so first is your hand, fingers facing up. This is a whole different side. So notice perhaps the difference between both sides. If you have some shoulder issues, this is excellent for your shoulders. Pressing into the wall, turning the trunk, my hips are level. Shoulder blades back and down. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades moving towards each other. Spreading the top spine of the shoulder blade from the spine outward to the shoulders. Breathing. And then turn the fingers out, pressing into the wall. Forearms, upper arms rolling externally, forearms rolling internally. Breathing. Pressing evenly through the whole hand. Turning the trunk from the wall side out to increase the stretch. And then turning the palm down. Eye of the elbow facing up. Upper arm rolling out. External forearm, even though you're not going to get movement, energetically rotate the forearm in. And press evenly throughout the whole hand and all of the fingers and the ball mounds of the fingers. If you have hyperextension in your arm, slightly bend the arm. So my arms, my elbows don't hyperextend. I forgot to say, if you hyperextend your arm, slightly bend your elbow. So you're not just pushing up into the bone. Turn the trunk from the wall out, but not the hips. Shoulder blades down the back. And now facing the fingers forward. Rolling the shoulders back. Tadasana in the whole body. Balance the head over the bowl of the pelvis. Turn. Woo. Up, over, down, in. 4 positions at the wall. Up, over, down, and in. And again, if your arms hyperextend, slightly bend the arm. And so just hold it back in Tadasana now. Feet on the earth, toes facing forward, knees facing forward, hips level. Rolling the hips so the pelvic rims lift up and go back and around. And helping to draw the belly in and engage the muscles of the belly to help to support the trunk. Whew. Stretch out all the way through the fingers and even the spaces between the fingers. So now I'm going to bring you back over here. And we're going to use the wall. And so if you don't have a wall, that's fine. If you don't have a yoga block, that's fine. You can do Urdhva Hastasana without the wall. If you have a block, some of you have a block, take the block in your hands and from the heel of your hand at the edge of the block and your fingers pressing very evenly and the fingertips facing upward. And you're just going to go up to the wall. What do I have behind me? Oh, look out. And fingertips to the wall. So it might be easier without the block because you don't want to have too much feedback going on. So extend out through the fingers and then notice how your shoulder blades come away from the wall and pull the shoulder blades back to make contact with the wall. Bottom tips moving towards each other and then externally rotate to bring the arms up over the head. And then you can have your hands facing forward or towards each other. So try both ways. And my fingertips don't quite reach the wall fully, but I can have my thumbs. And the back of the head could be at the wall, depending upon the shape and the health of your neck. Breathing freely and effortlessly. Because your arms are up over the head, the breath might come a little bit faster. But see if you can just breathe evenly. Your arms might not even reach the wall. It depends upon the rotation available to you in this moment. And one arm may go better than the other. So if one arm goes a little bit further, bring the further arm back to meet the arm that won't go as far. Waist back, navel back. Oh, I just dropped Jerry. Say hi. Yoga is fun. And breathing, tucking. So have your tailbone be moving down and slightly forward. So that the tailbone has a little curl to it. So with that rotation, invite the tailbone into the space that you create by lifting up the kneecaps and spreading the sits bones. And invite the tailbone into that space and lift up out of the hips. So this is your Tadasana. My kneecaps are lifted. Lift your kneecaps from below the shins. And feel your hamstrings engage as well when you squeeze the butt, but then broaden the sits bones. So squeezing the butt, but then broadening the sits bones. And then lifting up, lengthening, and invite the tailbone into that space that you created. One more Urdhva Hastasana. Being aware from the feet all the way down. Crown of the head in line with the bowl of the pelvis. And you could take a little bit of a back bend if you like, using the wall. So step away from the wall a little bit. And then what's going to bend is I'm not moving my hips forward. I'm going to lift up the heart chest to bend, to open up the heart chest, not pushing the hips forward. Notice when you push the hips forward, you're going to crunch the low back. That, my friends, is what we're trying to avoid. So if you like a little bit of a back bend, maybe the back of the head comes to the wall. The breath is definitely going to become a little bit faster. See if you can find a smooth breath. You can come in and out of the pose. If the breath is ragged or if you're holding your breath, notice and breathe and then come away, back off from the pose if you need to. So in the old days, we used to actually walk down the wall. But I'm not going to do that because number one, I'm not warmed up. And that's good enough. Good. So, Tadasana again. Roll the arms from the inside out. Great. So let's go ahead and I've got a set list here going. Urdhva Hastasana. Pressing the hands at the wall. There's no Sanskrit name for that, except for hopefully Santosha and Tapas. So Tapas is that work that we do that is balanced with concentration and focus. And Ahimsa, no harming. So if you find you're harming yourself, you back off. And Apatigraha, not taking, Apatigraha is sort of like this, not striving, not over striving. So finding that gentle balance between overworking and underworking. So Apatigraha, Santosha, contentment, come into a place of contentment. Satya, truth. What is your body up to today? What is your truth? Ahimsa, non-harming. What else? Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya. Oh, Asteya, not taking what's yours. What's not yours. So, having this be for you and not for anybody else. Ishvari Pranadhana, surrendering. Surrendering to what is. What is it? What is your truth today? And Svadhyaha, self-study. And studying of things that are higher vibration and higher nature, whether it's the sutras or scripture, but the self-study, looking inward to ourselves. Svadhyaha. So these are all tenets of yoga, and not one is more important than the other. And they reflect out into our life as well, but I was referring to them in our yoga practice today. So, now we're going to go upside down. And we'll start with Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Henry, are you there? Find your seesaw. So, see if we can do this. I'm going to move my stuff. So, in Iyengar yoga, we don't just set out our mat and leave it there. We might move it around a little bit. So I'm going to take it to the wall here. And we're going to take heels to the wall for downward facing dog. And you're going to be up on your toes. Adho Mukha Svanasana. See if you can see that. So I'm going to come down into the table pose. Plant my hands. I'm going to press into my hands, but then pull my arms back at the same time. So there's always this double action with yoga. I'm pressing in, but I'm pulling back at the same time. Have the eye of your elbow facing each other. So in the downward dog, when you're bearing weight, especially the forearm has an internal rotation and the upper arm has an external rotation. Play with that for a few years. So basically, we're trying not to buckle our arms. So planting the hands, index finger in line with the radial bone. The radial bone is the bone that spins of the forearm. So internally rotate the upper arm so that your index finger is in line and comes all the way in line, all the way up to the shoulder. And then heels, be on your toes and your heels are at the wall. Press back. Press the wall away and lift the hips, lift everything. So it's a downward dog, but you're actually lifting up. So waist back, navel back. Find the good distance for your hands today where you're not sliding. Press down into the hands. Tadasana in the trunk, so you're still spreading the clavicles. Still spreading the spine of your shoulders. Still drawing the tips of your shoulder blades more towards each other. And take care not to push forward. And lift up out of the shoulders. So if your shoulders, or if your clavicles go past your shoulders, walk out a little bit and lengthen back. And roll your shoulders out of your ears. And then you can come down and rest when you're ready. And the next move is planting the hands. So if you can, so what we're going to do is we're going to walk up the wall. And if you set your arms right and have the same action as the downward facing dog, perhaps your arms won't buckle. And that's the key. If your arms buckle, then you got to press even more and press into the wall or come down. Don't forget to breathe. And you can actively extend a leg or just be right here. So the movement of my arms doesn't change at all when I start to lift up and walk up the wall. So have that be your guide. If your arms buckle, then you want to practice more just pressing into the wall and stabilizing your arms and your shoulders so that when you go up, you're not going to buckle down. Walking up the wall, and it might be just one leg. Keeping the hips level. So you certainly can just practice one leg. Ekapada. Especially with one leg up, keep your hips level. So that you're still in Tadasana. Always Tadasana. And then when you're ready, you can come down and rest. You can take Vajrasana, sitting on your heels, or you can take the pose of the child. Or you can go back up again. Or if you are knowing and you like to, you can actually kick up the wall. Tadasana in the legs. Broadening from the inside out. Invite the tailbone into the space that you create. Don't forget to breathe. Child's pose. If you are a practitioner of Pinchamayurasana. You can also use the wall. I have a block here, and so you could take it's elbow balance. So I'm having the block here so my hands don't go like this when I start to lift up. And then I'm going to press into my elbows, take the shoulders back, keep my wrists on the earth without, so you want to roll the weight from the outside, from the pinky side into the thumb side of the hand. And then just start to go up. Elbow balance. So it's nice to have a block here or a book or belt your arms, because when you start to lift up and take weight, your arms usually slide in. So even if you're not going up and bearing weight all the way, pressing back, breathing, slicing into the earth with your forearm, keeping your elbows level. So you want to look at your elbows and see, because when you start to lift up, the weight rolls to the pinky finger side. Short holds are fine. If you are practicing and you are knowing, you can use the wall to go all the way up. Pinchamayurasana. So my arms were so steady there, I didn't even need the wall, but it was there in case I needed it. See? Tadasana, elbow balance. Breathe. Whew. So before I move forward, I'm going to make sure that my nervous system is calmed down a bit, and my heart. Paying attention to if there's a lot of pressure in my eyes, if my face is feeling heavy and anything is ringing, and drop the breath. Spread it throughout the body so it's not just stuck in the upside down in the head from going upside down. So Sunday, fun day, yoga. Shirshasana, headstand. So you're going to interlock your fingers and take them. So this is not upside down, but but pretend maybe interlock the fingers and bring them to the back of the head and press up with my forearms, but pull the shoulders down. So my shoulders aren't riding up to my ear. I'm pressing the shoulders down, and still Tadasana in the shoulder blades over and over again, spreading the clavicle, the stern, the spine and shoulder blade, bottom tips moving towards each other. So not crunching up, pulling down. And when I go up, keep your hands this way. Don't let them drop out or drop away. So my fingers, without gripping, my whole forearm is pressing down and my upper arm is lifting up. Shirsasana, head balance, for the fun of it. Interlocking the fingers. Pressing down and then looking up. So you don't even have to plant your head, you can just start to go up. Keep rolling the weight in. So your forearm bones stay perpendicular to the earth. They're not dropping out. Pressing the elbows. So from here to here, same with downward facing dog. When I start to lift up, there's no sinking of my neck. Otherwise, I want to stay down. And then you can lift one leg, lift the other. Breathing the whole time. When you come out, you can stay down in child's pose. If you are knowing and if you want, you can turn around to the wall. Same position in the head with the hands. Plant the head. And there's the wall. Elbows in and pressing down. Almost so you can lift the head. Pressing through the ball mounds, pressing through the heels. So when your legs are actually up, you're pressing into the sky. Shirsasana. Again, after being upside down especially, before I stand up, I want to normalize the breath. That was fun. Was it fun? Maybe funny? So, just before, we'll take a couple minutes in standing poses here, using the wall, and then we'll come down for relaxation. So if you don't have a wall, take the poses in the middle of the room. You're going to have your back to the wall. Take your feet wide. My feet are a little bit away from the wall. Turn your right foot out, turn your left foot in, lift the hip back up. So once I turn the thigh out, I'm going to levelize the hips again before I go into the posture. So I'm going to touch and go a few times. The knee moves towards the wall. And if I don't let your knee go past your ankle, so I'm widening my stance. And then bring your left side back to the wall, and then maybe extend the arms. Fingertips. So press down with your hands. Fingertips slightly up. Eventually having your knee, if you can stand as wide where your hip is as low as the knee, and this is flat. But maybe you're up here, that's okay. Keep pulling your right hip under. Levelizing the hips. Stand back up. Turn to the other side. Left foot turns out, right foot turns in. To turn the leg, I've dropped the hip, so lift that hip back up. So my pelvis is relatively level. And then dropping, bending the knee. Drop the hip to bend the knee. Knee rolls to the wall side. Knee rolls to the pinky toe side. Press into that back leg. So even though I'm going to the left, my right side is very active. Head back. You can turn if you like. Go as wide as you can where you're not sinking your back foot in. So press from the inner heel and the outer heel. I'm wide today. But I've got the support of the wall. So I'm going a little bit wider than I normally would. Trunk lifted. Pull the left hip back. And then straighten up. Turn the right foot out and the left foot out. Right foot out, left foot in. Try Trikonasana. So I've turned my right foot out, but now I'm lifting the hip back up. And then I'm going to hinge at this hip. Take your right hand at your hip and hinge. So I'm pulling my right, all the flesh from my right butt back and roll the left in. And then at the fullest extension, where I still keep this nice and long, then I'm going to stop there. So you might be able to go all the way to the floor, but don't round, don't push into the upper ribs to get there. Better to be right here. Roll your left shoulder back around to the wall. So my trunk is in Tadasana. Try Trikonasana. My trunk is in Tadasana. And then inhale to come back up. Turn the left foot out, right foot in. Lift the hip back up at first. Check my feet. So strongly from the back leg, even pressing more, pressing the inside of the heel and the outside, the whole heel. And then hinge. Pull the butt flesh around of the left bottom, and then roll your right pelvic rim around, but then roll the waist around. So pulling back the left buttock, roll the pelvis around, but roll the waist around. At your fullest extension, where you're not rounding your upper back, compress your upper ribs. Head back, shoulders back. So the trunk of my body is in what? Tell yourself. If you said Tadasana, you're right. And then inhale to come up, come up. And then we're going to combine both of these postures. Right foot out, left foot in. A couple of inches away from the wall, just enough so your butt can clear the space. And I'm going to bend, then I'm going to drop the hip to bend the knee, and then extend out like Trikonasana, and then come down as far as I can. So then from the wall, your left hand, you can pull the flesh away. Let your left pelvic rim roll forward, but roll the waist around. Shoulder blades at the wall. Doing what? That's right, Tadasana. Maybe you can get down to the floor. Maybe you can have a chair. Keep pulling that left hip around. Upper arm goes up. Notice how I'm not bulging my left ribs or over. Breathe. Pressing into my back leg, reaching up with my fingers. Spiral energy. And then pressing even more from the back leg. Inhale to come up. Inhale, exhale, turn the left foot in. Right foot out. Right foot in, left foot out. Levelize. Levelize. Drop the hip to bend the knee. Strongly pressing into that back leg. And extend out and over. Pull. Go ahead and take your right hand behind you and pull the hip back. Your right hip rolls forward, that's great. Roll the trunk around. Pressing evenly into your back leg. Arm up or arm over. Shoulder blades at the back, at the wall. Head to the wall. And breathe happily. And then from the back leg, strongly pressing, inhale to come back up. Take a breath. And we'll do one more for hopefully for not more than a minute, but turn all the way around and then come into the lunge and then open up for Parvrita, Parsvakonasana. Maybe you don't go all the way down that far. And then press from the back leg, inhale to come back up, go to the other side. So come down to the lunge. Maybe you need a chair or a block to bring the earth up to you. So now we rotated the whole trunk, the hips facing forward, but roll the waist around. Relax the shoulders. Parvrita Parsvakonasana. Pressing back through inside and outside of the heel. And then let yourself go forward. And then press up to come up and around. And take the hands down to the earth or to a block or a chair. And Parvrita Prasadita Paratadasana. Both ankles not sinking in, even. Shine the sits bones, lift them up. breathing. If you can bring the head down, great. If not, concave back. Waist back, navel back. So not sinking in the mid-back. Inhale the breath, plant the hands. Inhale, exhale, concave back. Inhale, exhale, tuck to come back up. Bring the hands and the feet back together to Tadasana. Take the wall and breathe. When you feel your breath is normalized, especially from the inversion, come down to the floor, and we're going to finish up with legs up the wall. So if you don't have a wall space, just take Shavasana on the floor. Find a body spot. Find a space on the floor or your yoga mat and lie back. But if you can, if you have a wall, we'll do legs up the wall. Simple. You're going to come down to the floor. Have about a couple of inches away from the wall, and then start to go back onto your back, turn to the wall, and then scooch the hips to the wall. And then roll the arms from the inside out, tuck the shoulder blades under. Active legs. So press through the ball mounts, press through the heels, activate the quadriceps. Take your hands behind your thighs, roll the thighs out. And breathe. So after you set yourself up with active legs, find that delicate balance between action and surrender, where your legs don't just fall apart. And be here for a couple minutes for our relaxation this wonderful Sunday fun day afternoon. I think I'll join you. Relax your eyes, your jaw, your cheeks. Fingers curled lightly. Come home to your breath. Let go of your mind. Let go of thinking. Let go of your body. If you're aware of your thoughts, mental formations rising, just celebrate that and come back to the tracing of the breath. And see where it goes. See where the breath takes you. Take care that your chin is level and not back, or not down by the chin. Not by the sternum. So untuck the chin just enough, so before your head tilts back. If your head tilts back, next time you do this, take a blanket underneath your head. Feel your belly expand as you breathe in. And feel your belly drop as you breathe out. And for the next minute for the next few breath cycles, maybe in the next minute or so, Pay extra close attention to the end of the exhalation just before you breathe back in. So, in the tracing of your breath, pay extra close attention to the time and space at the end of the exhalation just before you breathe back in. It will be 3:30, 4:30 my time when I ring the bell. If your legs are falling asleep, actively extend once again through your ball mounds and your heels. Stretch out through your fingers, even though your arms and shoulder blades are grounded. If it becomes unbearable, if you really see if you can breathe through another minute or so. But if you have to come down, you can come down. Bring your feet into Baddha Konasana. Feet together, knees wide. Drop your feet. Knees wide, feet together, or slide all the way off. Yogi's choice. In the words of Amachi, in the Path of the Mother, it says, the inner mother, whose true nature is infinite in silence, manifests visibly through this external body so that her children can have a glimpse of the mother who is deep within. So Amachi says, a child is born with pure consciousness, but society teaches him or her to be unconscious. He or she becomes completely clouded and is made to forget her true nature. She is taught everything except how to simply abide in her own true nature. So simply abiding. Inviting your inhalations to be a little deeper and your exhalations a little longer. When you feel ready, sliding away from the wall. And you can choose to slide all the way from the wall and lie back, legs and arms in Shavasana before pressing yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. Or if you feel ready, you can just roll to the side. Take a couple of breaths there. So you change relationship to gravity. So take a few breaths before then changing your relationship again and sitting back up to a comfortable seated position. Just take your time. Roll to the side first, one way or another. Come back to comfortable seated position. As smoothly and with as much awareness as possible, so of the turning inward, so that the benefits of the nervous system calming down and whatnot are maintained as you come back up to sitting before moving forward in your afternoon. And I'm closing with one more reading from Amachi, the Divine Mother, who feeds and serves the people of India with great love and with great insight and compassion. Amachi says, "The diverse and contradictory nature of life is a delightful play for one who is aware of life's ever-changing nature. She can smilingly welcome both the negative and positive experiences of life with equal vision. But for those who do not have this awareness, life becomes an unbearable burden filled with sorrow." The diverse and contradictory nature of life is a delightful play for one who is aware of life's ever-changing nature. Isn't it so right now? And with equal vision and true seeing and equanimity, we can smilingly welcome both the negative and positive experiences of life. And so my goal in these practices, my meditations at night and these practices, is to be able to first to be able to just know that there is a contradiction out there, and that we have tools to come back to a place of balance, and gradually being able to see everything in its true nature as positive and with gratitude. So thank you for joining me on Sunday Fun Day. Sunday Fun Day will be our upside down day. And I hope that for those of you who stayed were able to follow the instructions and maybe get a little bit of a glimmer of a different way to practice. And so I like to do the postures in different ways, maybe different days, because I'll learn something different from the wall than I do from in the middle of the room. And so with a sense of joyous exploration, yoga and mindful movement is just fun. It's challenging, fun sometimes, but it certainly gives me something to pay attention to. Because this whole time, when was the last time that you thought about what you need to do next, or what you're going to have for dinner, or maybe even how you're going to pay your bills this month? So, thank you for coming on this journey with me. And I'll close, as I always do, with the Heart Sutra, which the meaning is that everything, even in its seeming imperfections, is perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamadam Pranamada Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamaveva Vishishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. I give thanks and praise to all of my teachers, past, present, and future. To each one of you, I recognize the spirit in each and every one of you, the guru, the teacher, the beginner as well. And I dedicate the merit and the virtue of this practice, gathered in this practice, to the lasting happiness and well-being and safety of all beings, so all beings may be free from suffering and the causes and conditions of suffering. Namaste. Peace be with you. Peace be with yours. Move forward on this Sunday afternoon with a sense of joyous exploration and look for the silver lining and have gratitude, and you'll go a long way towards being happy, irregardless of what's going on. Namaste. Please feel free to give me any feedback. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm open. And if you have any special requests, I'm willing to hear them.